By the time drama starts bickering with logic and electrochemistry suggests you lick a light bulb, you realize you're not making choices as Harry, you're refereeing a neurological civil war. I have never had more fun role-playing than in Disco Elysium, because it's not a game that asks you what you would do, it literally screams at you what you should do and asks if you agree. Where other choice-based RPGs will ask you to listen to your heart, Disco Elysium asks you if you have faith in where that sound is from, causing an internal doubt in your mind about whether or not the choices you think are correct will have the effect you intend, leading to a chaotic cluster of opinions in your mind that have you questioning even the most logical answers to simple moral quandaries. This can be credited to the spectacular writing of the game, not specifically the storyline or even choices, but the words used to convey those choices. The opening conversation with Classy is a perfect example. The tone of the game is yet to fully establish itself, and you may still be under the delusion that this is a serious game. So when the option to seduce Classy appears, any sane person wouldn't pick that option because it's disastrously detrimental to the perceived tone of the story. But the words chosen to present this option make it irresistibly tantalizing. Try the expression on her. Let her know that you want her, physically. The complete unexpectedness of this line and utter bluntness it's presented with make the player genuinely consider clicking this option, despite how obviously awful it will go. And therein lies the power of Disco Elysium. Unlike any other game I've played, it's the only one where I wasn't capable of role-playing a certain archetype, because the character is constantly at war with himself, and every facet of his psychology is a likable character. The dulcet tone that your inner psyche presents every suggestion with, from cold calculated deductions to the most psychotic intrusive thoughts imaginable, makes each one sound like it comes from a place of certainty, leading credence to its viability. In essence, Disco Elysium is taking away the most important part of player choice in games away from the player and doing it itself, the reasoning and interpretation. Disco Elysium doesn't ask the player what they think of any given problem, it literally screams an answer or two at them and asks them to pick a side. This leads to a wider variety of choices and actually disincentivizes role-playing as certain archetypes. I might be unique in this case, but when I play an RPG, I usually pick an archetype ahead of time and select what options they would say in any given scenario. This leads me to stop genuinely considering options from my own moral standpoint as I begin to shut out alternative methods of approach as they're not presented to me in exciting ways. In contrast, Disco Elysium's battle royale of neurons is able to make even the most wildly out of left field choices feel like a plausible solution to a grounded problem. This is further enhanced by the blank slate nature of the protagonist, as the erasure of our memory allows us to rebuild our character in whatever way we wish, whilst maintaining an established origin for us to play off. The greatest advantage of this psychological insurrection is seen through the skill tree and upgrades, which stands in as Disco Elysium's form of factions and alignments. Depositing skill points in Disco Elysium takes on the same effect as depositing resources to your preferred faction in a traditional RPG, as the skill points serve to make your chosen voice echo louder in your head. This in turn allows particular parts of your psychology to have more influence over your decisions as you hear the input more often. What's more, each of your personality traits begin to form into mental characters in your mind, and you, the player, decide which characters you like more and want to give additional strength to, meaning that you're more likely to reinterpret an issue from that voice's perspective once it offers it. This was especially helpful for me, as tone is quite a difficult thing for me to read as an autistic person, and most characters within the game speak in an unexpressive voice that makes it difficult for me to perceive their true intentions. But the crystal clear messages given to me by parts of my psychology gave me insight into the truth hidden behind most characters' words. For example, Everett Clare is a character who's on the same side of the political spectrum as me, and is depicted as a slovenly pig. I initially thought he was a scathing critique of left-wing ideology, but thanks to the voices in my head, I was able to perceive that he was completely disingenuous in his beliefs, and merely sought to leverage his workers as a way to gain more wealth and influence. He's as despicable as capitalists come. Disco Elysium's choices are some of the hardest I've had to make in RPGs, but not because each side was laid out carefully with positives and negatives, but because the most critical part of decision making, the thought process, is done for me in ways I can't possibly predict. In this sense, Disco Elysium becomes less about solving a murder case and asking damning questions, but fighting in a war of your own impulses to decide what kind of man our protagonist will reforge himself into. For more videos about difficult choices in games, here's one about how The Witcher 3 has the hardest choices in RPGs, and I'll be back in 2 days.